In this video, we're going to talk about what happens when the anxious one stops chasing the avoidant one, to you and to them, because there are two experiences in this scenario, and often people want to know what happens to them, so we'll talk about that, but we'll also talk about your experience of this and what's likely to happen to you when you stop chasing them. Okay, so before I get into this video, I'd like to let you know that I've got a few spaces left on my Breakthrough 2025 3-month transformation program. For anyone who's been feeling stuck, going around in circles, wanting to know that there's a possible change for you that you can make happen, but not knowing how, even though you've done the work, you logically understand everything, but nothing is changing. If you want connection, community support in a difficult time, or maybe you're still just processing something that feels like it's not moving, this is going to be the program for you that helps you shift into a new state for 2026, which is when this program ends. Rather than waiting till the new year to make new resolutions and start again and do the things that you've wanted to do, we're going to start that process now so that you can go into 2026 feeling confident, ready, supported, and like you again. So if you want to join this program, you can book in a discovery call with me. You can find out all the information about how you can do that in the link below. Okay, so when somebody who has an anxious attachment style predominantly gets to the point where they think, I have to give up on this, that's a really hard place to get to for an anxious person, because they've thrown themselves into the relationship. They've given everything they've got, and it feels like such a defeat to stop trying. And sometimes someone who's in this situation gets to this point because they think, well, I've tried everything else. Maybe the next thing that I can try is to stop trying, right? Maybe if I do this, if I set a boundary and remove myself, they'll finally wake up. They'll finally realize what they've lost. And it's interesting because in the video that I did yesterday on a short, I said often we actually on some level show up in a relationship the way that we want to be loved, right? We show people how to love us by how we are loving them. The way that you loved this person was the way that you wanted to be loved. So sometimes there's a question of, were you loving this person genuinely for who they are? Do you love who they are? Or were you trying to elicit a response from them to show them how to love you so that you could feel whole and complete? So this is one of the questions that can feel really confusing, because you might end up still chasing this person, or you might have been chasing this person because you're trying to be loved. But actually what we really want to be able to do is to feel good enough within ourselves so that we can love. And sometimes we feel like we need to feel good enough in order to do that. We want the permission. But actually we don't realize that that's a narrative that we've been built into, wired into, that we need to somehow prove to other people that we're good enough. We need to have a response from them to know that we're good enough in order for us to feel free to love. It's really interesting, isn't it? But anyway, when someone has got to the point where they can't do that anymore, they can't show up as this loving person, and they have to step back, often a lot of hurt has happened. There's been dismissal, rejection, criticism, shutdowns, disappointments, things that have happened that just feel like this is not going to work for a relationship. I'm not going to be able to feel seen here. I'm not going to be able to feel safe here. And so you get to the point where your nervous system, whether you like it or not, even if you do love this person, your nervous system is saying, no, this doesn't work for me anymore. So you have to, your nervous system will tell you, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I can't. It's going to disappoint me again and again and again. So you're exhausted. You're filled with disappointment and sadness and all this love with nowhere to go, right? And so you stop. And when that happens, you might experience a crash, grief, and also a feeling of longing, because what you really wanted was for the relationship to work. You didn't want to stop trying. You didn't want to give up, but you had to, because there was no safety available there, no emotional safety available. And you didn't feel complete within yourself because you were, in some level, trying to find that completeness within them. This is where a lot of your inner work now comes in. So it makes you feel like you still want to chase them, even if you're not technically chasing. So there's two responses, there's many responses that you can have. Like, you might think, I genuinely have had enough. This person has absolutely tipped me over the edge and I don't want to be with this person. I don't want to chase this person and I'm done. But there still might be an element of sadness about that because you did try so hard. So that's one thing. The other thing is that you might be in a place where you're like, I'm going to stop trying so that they chase me. This never works, by the way, because it's controlling. Yeah. So if you're there, you're still very attached and you're still got a level of unconsciousness, right, that needs to be worked through in order for you to see the power that you're giving to this person, and the importance that they've got, the pedestal that they're on, that's actually putting you in a position of powerlessness, right, and longing and lack, which gets us wrapped up in this endless cycle of doing something to try and get a response from them, and then maybe they do it a bit, but then we never get anywhere, right? So that is a signal to you that there's something within you that you're not loving, right? There's something about you in you that feels incomplete. There's a belief there that we need to unpack in order for you to be able to see the blind spot that's keeping you attached to them, yeah? So this is where you go into this space and then quite often there's silence for ages and it throws you into this, what do I do? The thing that I normally do is not working, and nothing's working. I'm not getting a response from this person, and it throws you into a state of panic. This is when people often come to me because they're in that horrible phase of no contact, and it's very difficult when you stop technically chasing but emotionally you are still chasing. Yeah, that's really hard, because you're still connected. You still believe that they have something that you need. That's a place where it's like being in purgatory because you've not let go and you're not allowing yourself to move on. And this can go on for a really long time until you interrupt it. And sometimes what happens is you need to just go back. You need to send the message. You need to break no contact to be able to see the reality, right? And I'm not saying do this right now. Don't do this right now. Like, let's have a bit of a conversation about it before you do that sort of thing, because actually the no contact might be very, very beneficial to you right now, because it helps you to reconnect back to yourself and is so needed whenever you've been trying to outsource yourself with somebody else. Yeah. So the whole part of this point of this bit is for you to reconnect back to you. Okay. Which is one of the reasons why, by the way, I've done the Breakthrough 2025 program for anybody who wants to do that. This is the perfect opportunity to do it if you're in this space. It's very hard when you're still outsourcing yourself to someone else. So their experience, on the other hand, will be initially relief. They haven't got someone trying to get something from them. They're not being demanded to be more emotionally vulnerable. They're not being challenged. They're not being called out. It's like, oh, good. You know, there's relief. As I've said many times before, avoidants initially think, it's a good thing. It's a good thing that we're not together, even if they're a bit annoyed about it, right? But then, as their nervous system starts to recalibrate and feel safe because no one's coming for them, they start to miss that connection. They start to miss your unique connection and the way that you love them that nobody else can do. They know that nobody else can love you the way that you have loved them, right? And so they will start to miss that in some way, even if they do nothing about it, right? Because the fact is they also fear rejection. So even if they started to think, oh no, I really miss this person, if they're worried that you might reject them, they might do nothing about that. And this is where anxious people can go, oh no, I want them to feel safe with me. I'm going to reach out and make them feel safe. And then again, you're allowing them to stay avoidant because they don't have to face their vulnerability. They'll never change if you do that. It's not your job to make them feel safe. I know it feels like it is, but it's the pair of you's job to make each other feel safe. If you take on all the weight, if they feel safe, they're going to feel safe enough to love me, is what we often think, and then we'll be whole and complete. But it's their job to work this out for themselves, not yours. It's like the whole analogy of if you try to help a caterpillar or a butterfly out of its cocoon too soon, it will die. Same with all of us, right? We need the pain, we need the time in order for us to come to our own transformation and realizations in a safe container, right? This is, again, why it's so important to get the right support, to get support where you're held and seen, not rushed or pushed or forced, okay? And avoidants find it really hard to reach out for that. So they often stay in this place of helplessness, right? They feel helpless, but they need that time in order to grow, to create a change. So don't try and save them from this. Don't try and save them from their fear of rejection. That's something that they've got to face and feel within themselves and then overcome by living their life differently, okay? And life will teach that to them. So they might go through this phase of missing you and wanting to reach out, and maybe they will reach out. And this is where they can start going, oh, I'll send a message, or I'll send a meme, or I'll send a song, or I'll say, how are you? Or do you want to be friends? And, this can feel really disappointing because it's not what you wanted. You wanted more than that. You didn't want a bit of them. You wanted the whole relationship. And this is where it can feel like, oh, maybe they're coming towards me and I don't know what to do. Maybe this is an opportunity for change. You'll know when there's a change because they'll tell you. They'll say, oh my God, I can't believe that this is what I've put you through. Or I can't believe, because they'll be able to take actual accountability and responsibility for the way they showed up. That can take years, if ever. So the reason why I'm saying that, although it might be disappointing to hear, is because you need to hear it, because otherwise this part of you that's like longing and hoping and wanting them to change might still be hanging on to a possibility. You've got one life. You've got one life, okay? And I'm saying this absolutely knowing how bloody hard this is to let go of someone when you're unconsciously stuck on them. I know me saying it, if anything, makes it maybe even harder for you to let go because you there's a part of you that doesn't want to. But the fact is that we haven't got time to wait for people's potential. We have to live in the present. And when someone isn't showing any signs of wanting to transform, wanting to change, we have to take that as what it is, right? We have to take it as fact, because when we let go of that need for change and need for them to be different, because we start to reconnect back to ourselves, which gives us all our power back, by the way, then that's when change can happen. That's when the release happens. It's like sitting and watching paint dry, honestly. It takes forever. Like waiting for an avoidant to change is like waiting for them to build a house on the moon. Sorry. I don't know where that came from. That's the first analogy that came to my head. Sorry. It's probably, I mean, it's maybe the same likelihood. Yeah, maybe a similar likelihood with some of these people, honestly. But some people who are willing to show you change, they'll show it to you. They'll show curiosity. They'll show interest. They'll show intrigue. They'll want to go to therapy. They want to do things. They're like, oh yeah, I can see my part in this. The main thing is that in this time, yes, they are going to think about you. They're going to notice that you're not chasing them. They're going to miss you. They're going to remember that you were someone who has loved them in a way that no one ever has before. They're going to think about it, but the thing with you is that either you're going to still be in a sense of wanting this time of silence to control them, or you're going to be thinking, I actually have to do something for myself to stop me feeling like I need to control this, because it's using all of my energy, it's using all of my love that I've got so abundantly to give, and I need to look after myself. You're going to be in one of those two places, right? Sometimes you get to that place where you're like, enough is enough, when there's been just one too many shit shows, basically, and you're like, I can't do this to myself anymore, I've got to choose myself. If you're not there yet, it's okay, you know. I remember saying to my therapist once, how bad does it have to get before I don't want to hang on anymore? And there's no answers to that. You just have to start taking responsibility for your side of the street. Okay, and everybody gets there in their own time. But one thing that I found really comforting is if you're in that phase of longing and missing and wondering if you're ever going to get over them, like at some point something will change. At some point you will be free of this. At some point there will be a shift in you or in them, and something will change. And we can't plan it, predict it, figure it out. There's just something that's going to change. All you can do is put yourself in spaces and places with people who are going to make you feel connected, seen, loved, creative, all those things. You know, where you're putting yourself out into life again, you're expanding your horizons, you're expanding your potential of growth, of transformation, of you feeling more like you again, okay? And this is what you need to do. When your avoidant ex starts seeing you feeling more like you, they might think, what's going on? Like, I want to know what's happened there. You know, I want to understand this. What might be when they reach out, and they could reach out and say, I can see my part. But honestly, the best case scenario is when you get to the place where they reach out and you are not sitting there waiting for it anymore. You're not longing for it. You're not missing them in the same way. It's a surprise and you can take it or leave it, basically. You know, that would be the best case scenario. And you get there by gradually over time learning to let go, bit by bit by bit, of the outcome, right? When we're held on to the outcome, nothing ever happens. Like I say, it's like watching paint dry, or, you know, waiting for something that's going to take a really long time to happen. It feels like it'll never happen. But when you let go, life moves, right? So if you want any support with this, if you want to create this breakthrough for yourself and get support in this time where you feel like you just don't know how to deal with these feelings, how to let go of control, how to stop longing for, missing them, feeling stuck, join the Breakthrough 2025 program. There's a few spaces left. We start very soon. I would love to meet you and see you there. If you've got any questions about that, you can find out in the link below. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.